make the most of your 20s and do what you want to do. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 2-3 साल आप पीछे हो जाओगे. It's fine. You've got very good marks, even in maths and science and everything. Why? You qualify for science, take science, did access. You meet all kinds of, big wigs. You meet from all spheres of life, sports people, businessmen, investors, actors, you name it. You have.
Hi. So today on this channel, we have another celebrity, someone who I had followed for a long time on these various news shows. And today she's on our channel trying to share her take on her career journey. So Karunya Rao is an illustrious journalist turned entrepreneur in the content space now. So welcome to the show, Karunya. And I'll just ask one question to begin with, that what have been your experiences in your formative years leading up to LSR? And then how did the foray into the media sector happen?
Thank you so much for having me. Usually, I'm the one taking interviews and asking people questions. But glad to be on the other side for a change. And thanks for having me on your show.
So, tell us about your formative years in terms of your education, and then how that led to LSR and then media, etc.
This might sound very typical or very fairy tale like, but when I was growing up, I always loved being on stage. Even right from KG nursery time, when people are just sort of getting used to going to school, getting used to being with people, all of that. I always loved storytelling. I always wanted to be heard. I always wanted to speak. And I would take part in these small elocution storytelling competitions. Assembly may, when you go in your school assembly, you want to read out the news, and news was something that I loved reading. We had a news reading segment every day at our school assembly, where we would come to school really early on in the day, start reading the newspaper for the big headlines. So I would cull out the headlines and read them in English and some days in Hindi as well. We had both Hindi, English news. So that's how it got on. And, I would get a rush being on stage, being in front of the mic, speaking, everybody is quiet, listening to what I have to say. And, as a kid, I used to feel a little nervous, but the minute I would start speaking, everybody would go quiet, would actually pay attention to what I'm saying, gave me a lot of dopamine rush of sorts. And it was great. They were all baby steps, really. And as a kid, you would tell your parents that, oh, when I grow up, I want to become a news presenter, or I want to become a TV reporter. And these are many things, like one day you want to be a teacher, one day you want to be an astronaut, one day you want to be a doctor. But I always used to tell my parents, when we would watch the news, or we would watch any interview program or something growing up, and I would tell my parents, one day I will also be doing this, because they would tell me to shut the TV and go study. So I would say, Arey, don't make fun of all this, because you will one day see me here. And I think I just manifested it with with a lot of determination, hard work, focus, because everybody sees the end result. Nobody sees the journey really, and the hardships you face or the effort you put in. But it sounds very fairy tale like and very filmy, but it's true. And you can manifest, but manifestation ke saath saath you have to put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and you have to be really focused into what you want to do, and you have to fight all odds to achieve that. Because typically, coming from a South Indian Brahmin traditional family, studying humanities, studying journalism, studying English literature is not your first preference for your parents. They want you to be a typical engineer, or do a professional course, quote unquote, to get a good job, to get a good salary, do well. Of course, your parents are also watching out and looking out for you, but you really have to fight if you want to sort of break away from those conventions and follow really what you want to do, and take these difficult decisions and stand by them. Even if you're struggling, if you're not doing well, you have to stay at it and keep going.
Makes sense. And I can relate to this because I come from a typical Marwadi family. And for us, it's commerce all the way, being a chartered accountant. So one
CA,
of my
yes.
nieces took up law. Then my other niece has now taken up law, and it is like, oh, humanities. Who studies humanities?
Humanities is never an option, right? It's never even in the
Are you a
chosen
weak
list of
student that you're
options.
going for humanities?
Exactly. And when I took humanities, when I chose to, pursue humanities, I was being interviewed by the school vice principal, just a formality interview, but typically they ask you why you want to do it, pursue just a normal chit chat to understand why the child is choosing a certain thing. And even the teachers are so stereotypical, so judgmental. They're like, you've got very good marks even in maths and science and everything. Why you qualify for science? Take science. I'm like, but I don't want. It's not about qualifying or making the cutoff. It's about what I want to study. Also, I don't want to study science, for instance. Nahi karna hai, And they were also a little surprised. It's just sad because even in my family, I think in my generation, I am the only person to pursue humanities because it's very bizarre, and I find it bizarre because it's a beautiful stream, and social sciences, you learn so much. I mean, everyone who has a bias against humanities really needs to take a relook. I feel, because you learn so much, and so many practical things about society, psychology, your history, your politics, everything. These are actual real things. I mean, you may not use algebra and arithmetic, or
Calculus and all.
arithmetic, of course you would still use, but algebra and chemistry, physics, you will not use in your day-to-day lives. But your humanities, arithmetic,
Understanding of human behavior,
economics, these are
society.
things they're more practical in nature. So I mean, you should have an open mind about everything, whatever your child or your siblings or whoever is taking, because humanities is as difficult, as complex, and as amazing as science or commerce. So,
I think things are changing. I mean, with humanities, I think this UPSC option is also now opening up in a big way. So a lot of
yes.
people actually crack the UPSC with the humanities subjects. So be it. Now coming to media, so you've really
Hmm.
traversed a lot of companies, Times Group, and then Z, and then ET Now, Moneycontrol. So how was it like manifesting that childhood dream on in reality? So being on that stage, being on the screen, getting that rush of dopamine. So what are the highs and lows in that journey of media? Like, would it give a kick when you would say, "Oh, today I have interviewed Radhakrishnan Damani. Oh, today I have Ramdev Agarwal has."
Definitely. It's exciting. Not only interview, especially when you meet these people in person also, because it they suddenly things get real for you. They're real people, virtually you're actually meeting them, you're seeing how they talk, how they behave, how they conduct themselves. Off camera also you chit chat with them a little, so it's a great experience, and it's one of the biggest pros or highs of being in media, because you have unlimited access. You meet all kinds of big wigs, you meet from all spheres of life, sports people, businessmen, investors, actors, you name it. You have economists, very accomplished people, and it's a huge upside and privilege as a journalist, because you really you have access. Everyone will pick up your phone, everyone will answer your messages or reply to your mails. Okay, if not everyone, let's say like 9 out of 10 people. So it's definitely, it gives you a lot of power, but then it's also a lot of responsibility, a lot of because a lot rides on it. Just meeting Mr. Damani or Mr. Ramdev Agarwal is not the end of it. You have to make the most of that interview or that opportunity as well that you have got. So you have to ask the right questions, you have to do your homework, you have to and there are at least tons, a dozen of other journalists vying for the same interview. How are you better than them? You have to really do your homework and go. You have to have deserve that position to be in, where you're asking them questions. People, your team, your seniors, everybody has trusted you with that job to meet an person, a CXO of a company, or whoever, a big personality. So it is great, but it's also a lot of homework, and it is a little jittery always at first, that okay, the first reaction is, wow, I'm meeting this person, it's amazing. But then comes the real work, the real you know the real hard work that you have to put in to sort of to prove yourself, to be able to, that okay, I have been.
Is the point here
Yes,
that the next big
yes,
story, how will I get more eyeballs? How do I make an impact in a crowded space? So does that create stress also being in the media industry? Or is it all hunky
it's
dory?
definitely very stressful. It is definitely very stressful, because see, we have like what, six channels, right? And there are millions of people who are vying for your job all the time. And that's not just in the TV news industry, but even otherwise, right? There are so many people. One एक seat होती है, and हजारों लोग उसके लिए candidates होते हैं, and you are easily replaceable. How do you make yourself relevant? How do you I'm not saying you have to constantly prove yourself, but you have to stay relevant. You have to never become laid back कि हाँ मैं तो ये कर लूंगी, I'll wing it. You maybe, that is also part of the job, because sometimes live interviews suddenly spring up. You're doing a show and suddenly they say, oh, we are patching this guest, ye kuch bada news break hua hai. So you have to wing it also, but you have to realize and value what you're doing and keep doing it well. So, and it applies to, I would say it applies to any job, right? More so for our job, because it's more glamorous, zyada logo ko wo attractive lagta hai, and you also feel like acha, kal ye chhodega to koi aur aa jayega. That's not the point. The point is that you have to stay relevant, and you have to be worthy of where you are. So on silent.
Yeah. So you are talking about media being having that high points in terms of the dopamine surges, then the pressure to stay relevant, and then so many people vying for your jobs and for all these 5, 6 channels. So then, what really prompted your foray into the next part of your orbit in terms of the journey, in terms of content space? When now with Nubina, you have co-founded a content company, and what do you do
Correct.
actually there? So tell us more about that.
So the reason I have had like I have 4 different jobs in the field of journalism with different companies, largely business journalism. But what happens with me particularly is that once I want to constantly learn, I have a very, very curious mind, and I need to keep doing something new or keep learning something new. Which is a good and a bad thing, because when you talk about being stable in your job, or there are people who spend tens of years in one job, in one organization. That is, again, it provides you a sense of stability, loyalty. You're in a steady situation. But I, for one, want to keep learning, and when I feel that इस job में जितना भी सीखने को था, I have done it, and perhaps I, I I may not be able to do something new anytime soon in this role. I would start looking out, or I would, even within the organization, try to explore, okay, what more can I do? What different can I do? Or because I want to constantly be stimulated. And while I am in the news industry, and news industry is one of the most stimulating, because every day is a new day, lots is happening all the time on the go. Even within that, there comes a time when you get set in a routine. You're like, हाँ ठीक है, breaking news आएगा, I know how to handle it. It's not new for me. या फिर one day, suddenly I have to get up, and I'll be told to go to an X location and interview somebody instantly. I will not have the time to sit and read up and do too much homework. So that also becomes a routine after a point, after spending X number of years. So when I moved from Times to Z Business, it was that in all honesty, I would say I did not enjoy print as much, because I wanted to be in the audio visual medium. So I moved to Z Business. Z Business, I learned production. I was a rookie. I was a complete newcomer in the TV industry. So I learned a lot. And then I'm like, what next? What do I do? I always wanted to move over to the mainstream equity market side, and Z business. Um, I did not see myself moving to that zone there. And so, coincidentally, the ET Now opportunity came. And even though I was not from a markets background, I was entrusted with that opportunity. They gave me the time to learn. They gave me some time to get trained in live anchoring, etc. So I'm eternally grateful to my mentors and my bosses who took that leap of faith. So I did that. Then 4 5 years down the line, when I figured that अब मुझे TV का काफी कुछ आ गया, and what do I do next? That's when COVID happened. We started doing a lot of digital content, and everyone was on their screens during COVID, watching market explainers, stock market investing tutorials, all of that. We at 18 also started doing a lot of digital content. And then came the opportunity from Moneycontrol, where they wanted me to helm their digital content only. And while I knew about content, I didn't know about the back end, the analytics, the SEO part of it. So I saw it as a learning opportunity. So all of these jobs, more than jobs, I have been looking at them as opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to do something different from what I'm doing right now. And that's what enabled me to take these leaps of faith and bet on myself, and always taking these risks. I was always, a part of me was apprehensive. A part of me is still that conservative person telling me not to go crazy or take these wild risks, making a move from Delhi to Mumbai without knowing anyone in the city, without knowing anyone at ET Now, what market coverage is like. I didn't know, like there were too many uncertainties, but I still took that faith because I told myself, क्या हो जाएगा, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा. If I don't like it, I have a home in Delhi. My family is in Delhi. I had a job in Delhi, which I can probably come back. I can reapply. So you always have to tell yourself that it'll be all right. It's not going to be gloom and doom. Even if you take a risk, be prepared. A part of you should be prepared for something not working your way, not going your way. Calm down, tell yourself, ठीक है, नहीं हुआ, तो ये है option. So that is what also gave me that cushion, that security to take these risks. And I was single, and I thought, okay, abhi hi kar sakte ho aap. When you have a family or when you are older, you may not be able to take these leaps. So make the most of your 20s and do what you want to do. ज्यादा से ज्यादा 2 3 साल आप पीछे हो जाओगे. It's fine. I mean, क्या होगा? It's when you grow up, when you're 40, you will not remember making these experimenting with your life. But if you don't experiment with your life and you're 40, you may regret it कि यार मैं एक बार try कर लेता या कर लेती, क्या पता, I would have been elsewhere today. I would have done something entirely different. So that risk taking ability and knowing thoda, like, not being delusional about it, not being overtly optimistic, but also knowing कि आपके पास एक safety net है या आपका एक plan B या worst case scenario के लिए you have a family support, or you have friends, or you have some savings in your bank account. Build that, any kind of security net, whether it's emotional, financial, personal, and then you should experiment, especially in your 20s. Your 20s should be totally for learning. So that's what has led me to take all these decisions in my life. And being the risk taker I have at the peak, I was in Moneycontrol for about 2.5 years, and I again started feeling कि मैंने तो सीख लिया है काफी कुछ, अब मैं और क्या करूं. And that's when I was getting some exploratory options and job offers for creating digital content for a lot of these BFSI companies. And I am somebody who constantly needs stimulation. I cannot be boxed. So I said, why should I do it for one company? Let me do this for everybody. Because आज मुझे X company बोल रही है, कल को Y को भी चाहिए होगा content, Z को भी चाहिए होगा, A, B, C, everybody. So if I'm good at this, let me create a team of people or a company wherein we do this for everyone who needs us. And this is when Mubina also comes into the picture, because her and I have been working very closely, and we've been friends since ET now. And she was incidentally on a career break as well. So I was one day talking to her, and I told her, this is happening. I don't want to do this, but I also want to do this on my own terms. So she said, let's do it, because even she was thinking on the similar lines, and it just happened over a call. And she was in Canada, she was on a break, and she said, look, I'm coming back in a few months. Let's do this. And I said, ha, theek hai, when you come, we'll see. And she came back and she followed it through. And I said, okay, now things are getting real. So I also streamlined everything. I saw that there is enough opportunity, there is enough safety net financially. I have some savings to, stay afloat for 1 year, 2 years without getting too worried, or having to ask money from my husband or my mother or anybody. I mean, of course you can ask them, but it's just that after being independent for so long, it feels a little odd to go back to your family, for money. So we took that leap of faith again, and we formed Cogent Media Labs. We because we both have been in the industry for so long, we had people who we knew, who we could tap on, who would be interested in working with us. We already had some companies who were offering us jobs. We converted them to give us outsource and give us a contractual job instead. And that's how we worked our way up, largely because of the media background we had, and the access we had to people. So we had enough knowledge and enough idea about who to tap, what kind of work to
And a
do. So
network,
that is very
maybe.
important. A network, that's very important. I mean, I tell people also who want to, who are still pretty young in their jobs and want to sort of venture out their own. Working in a job is very important, because you learn so much about working in a company in a structured way with people. Then you have the opportunity to build your own network of talent and of potential clientele. So don't just dive into it saying कि मुझे अपना venture set up करना है, but also build an ecosystem so that you know the industry, you know the job, you know what kinds of people you need to hire, how much are the costs, so you know it properly. And then with all the knowledge you go into it, it's always better, according to me. Again, it's not like a thumb
No,
rule,
it
but
makes
this is
complete
what has
sense. And I
worked
will
for us.
relate with this because when we also founded Betafin Partners a couple of years ago, it was the similar thought process. There's some runway in the bank. There's a network now, and therefore a lot of people who denounce jobs. I have never denounced jobs even after turning entrepreneur, because it is the job that lays foundation in terms of the network.
Yeah, it builds character also, because you've done your hustle, you've been an intern, you've picked up all kinds of work with which others probably didn't want to do. You picked up a lot of slack, and you really worked hard. So you have seen intern से लेके editor तक क्या काम होता है.
Yes.
So you can then identify the people you want to work with. You know how things get done. काम करना कैसे है, तभी काम करवा सकते हो दूसरे से, when you know how the work is done. If you only have no clue, you can't blindly hire people and then
It
just
happens
trust them to
sometimes
do it.
that at the end of it, like you outsource something to some, delegated it to some junior, he's goofed it up, but you got to know the job that the client is dancing on your head.
Yeah.
You got to do it and send. Because if it is, it's not just a delegation thing that I pick up work and delegate and get it done. You got to know it well. So that I think is something which is very important in an entrepreneurial journey that you all are now doing. So
I
now
mean, you can't have technical knowledge of everything, but you need to have some idea about a little bit of everything, so that to be able to extract, the best of your colleagues and your vendors.
So, folks who have not seen Mubina's interview, she has also come on this channel, I think a couple of years ago, and shared a very vibrant story about her journey in the media industry. So now Karunya and Mubina both run Cogent, which is into the media space, doing all sort of creative stuff around content, so maybe annual reports and the new shows for companies or trailers, etc.
Especially business and financial content. I mean, that's our forte. So now we create content for all businesses and whoever,
So maybe some of you can
individual
try
or,
to reach out to them
yeah,
for internships if you all want to
absolutely.
do that. Perfect. Karunya, my last question to you. Since you've been a financial wizard in a sort of and interacted with the who's, how do you handle your money? Maybe a quick 2-minute take on it before we close this session.
So I think the thing that I have learned is patience. I don't freak out when the market moves or when any big developments happen, market moving developments happen, और कि यार इलेक्शन आ रहा है, क्या हो जाएगा मार्केट को, अभी कोविड हो गया है, कोविड में कितना सेलिंग हुआ था. So I typically I'm a very patient investor. I invest for the long term. Thanks to my job, it's been so hectic कि मैं कभी अपना portfolio बार-बार check. It's an irony because we talk about so much about stocks, trading, investing, buying, selling, but we don't have the bandwidth, which is actually a blessing in disguise to check our portfolios every day. क्या हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. So, and I even advise everyone because even we have some colleagues who are not from a market background and they've invested in SIPs or stocks, etc. They ask us, so we tell them this only, that don't keep going back and checking it every day, especially mutual funds. This guy who works with us has invested for his child who is 4 years old. You can't now keep seeing कि अच्छा आज ना 500 point गिर गया market, अब मैं क्या करूँ दीदी, you can't ask me that because you have invested for 18 years. Be patient, don't freak out, and don't let these small events freak you out or trigger any kind of panic in you. But yes, whether it's a mutual fund, whether it's an SIP, ULIP, wherever you're investing, आप जहाँ पे भी invest करें, understand the product. आप क्या कर रहे हो वो बहुत जरूरी है. Not because only your RM has told you or your manager बैंक में किसी ने आपको बोल दिया है, colleague ने बोला है. Do your research because everybody has a different style of investing. Everybody wants different things. Somebody is doing it for the short term कि मेरे को 5 साल में गाड़ी खरीदनी है, 3 साल में गाड़ी upgrade करनी है, मैं उसके लिए कर रहा हूँ. Some people want to save for their wedding. They want a lavish wedding. Sure, some people are saving for their kids for 20 years altogether. So everyone has a different requirement. आपका requirement क्या है? आपकी capability और ability कितनी है? अभी जैसे मैं बोल रही थी, I have a very strong risk taking ability in my life, but when it comes to investing, I'm very simple. I don't spread myself too thin, and I don't keep going back and checking and monitoring all the time. So I typically follow these principles, and जो आपको चाहिए उसके हिसाब से करो और अच्छे से with full awareness go into anything, career, investing, life decisions, go into it with full knowledge and take an informed decision.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karunya, for your time out on Sunday afternoon. And it was a pleasure learning about the nuances of the media industry, humanities as a career, then personal finance. I mean, the last part was really, I mean, I think we can have a follow-up sometime or maybe follow you on Insta and all to understand this entire concept. Thank you. And
thank you so much. Thank you. I had a lot of fun for a change being on the other side and answering questions rather than asking. So thanks for the opportunity.